Thanks for coming. It's virtual production is kind of the shiny new toy on set, right? It's rapidly developing technology that's changing really every week in terms of the tools we're working with. So, it's kind of the Wild West. There's very few rules, although rules are being written rapidly. I think that's just human nature. But so what we do at Stargate is, we've been around for 33 years, I think 34 years now, and the idea is that we come at it from a visual effects standpoint. I've got enough gray hair to be, an optical printer and motion control and, film to digital and all these kind of transitions. But, the basic creative process of lighting and camera really doesn't change. The tools that we're using change, but, the concept of, how to build a complex image or use tools that are available really doesn't change. I look at this like a giant horizontal optical printer, right? There's a background, there's a foreground, there's a midground. You can put filters in, you can, do all sorts of stuff. The beauty of virtual production is you only have to track 3 axes, X, Y, and Z, right? So displacement, vertical, the horizon has to change. These are all, visual effects traditions, right? And you've always had a visual effects artist who would go, oh, the vanishing point's right there, so the horizon should be right here. Well, that's now taken out of, the dark black room, and it has become something that we have to be aware of on set. What's wrong with this image is like the typical thing that being a visual effects supervisor, now virtual production supervisor, DP, whatever, I wear a lot of different hats, but the question is always, what's wrong with that image, or how can we make it look better? And Brian touched on it with, change the horizon, do the thing, but now we're doing that in real time on set. And so it's a completely different animal than somebody with headphones on that if their computer crashes, no problem on a visual effects shot, if it's green screen. On set, it's like sudden death. If they're gonna roll whether you like it or not, right? And we've all been faced with that, whether your lighting is done or your cameras are set up or whatever. So prep becomes the thing. I say you're continually in prep. You need to know the tools and on the day be saying, okay, I can see what's wrong with that. The midground's too magenta, add some green, or change the horizon, or, if we go with just a little bit of a tighter lens or push in a little bit, we're cool, But you're baked here, right? You don't have a chance really, unless you're going to do a lot of rotoscoping, to go in and change it, which is not going to make your producers happy at all. If you add $1,000 to every shot that you want to change in post, that is not going to be good for you. So, you got to really kind of be thinking like, ironically, a visual effects person, because you are in charge of the composite in some fashion, whether it's camera or lighting or playback or perspective or whatever it is, right? You're going to have to deal with these things. So this is a reel which has a lot of the shows that we do. We tend to go out and build volumes to suit. So this is Our Flag Means Death, which is a very large setup. This is at Warner Brothers. It's a 160-foot wall, a lot of mobile screens. This is kind of big scale, Taika Waititi directing. And we shot all the plates in Puerto Rico with a lot of different setups. This is 5 times 12K. So you're dealing with heavy, heavy data. And as opposed to a frustrum, we wanted 160 feet of viewable space because we didn't want to limit Taika as to his POV. Station 19, we're in our 3rd year. The trucks are so big, they're 70 feet long. We moved the volume flips and the cameras move around the truck. So you shoot the truck as if you were really there. This is Your Honor, which, you know, when you have somebody like Bryan Cranston, you really don't want any downtime, you know, because the producers are all somewhat afraid of the technology till they get into it, and they have to have a seamless experience. So that's this thing. This is a 4-camera setup on Your Honor. We're shooting somewhere between 8 and 12 pages a day. All kinetic light. It's all image-based lighting. We've worked very closely with KINO FLO and all the DMX team, you know, to be able to, on Lincoln Lawyer, they had a bad experience the first year. We came in and fixed it the second year. These are, you know, the plates, when you shoot them, they have to be solid as a rock. If you have vibration in your plates, you're dead. So from a camera perspective, you can't hard mount your plate camera or it's going to shake like hell in here. This was a tough one. This was in an abandoned shopping center in Ohio with rain and such. This was an early one that we did in Toronto. This is using 40 monitors instead of an LED screen. So all those are 4K monitors. And we've got them down a 200-foot set. This is a little thing we just did for Ingenue and Band Pro at our studio. Kids kind of fantasy, but you know, the volume, each production has a unique footprint. It's like you can't go and buy clothes at one size, right? Your production is going to be totally unique. So you can create a volume. The big volumes are great. I mean, there's no doubt that if you have a production that fits the big volume, you're in good shape. But what we're doing here is all rolling walls that are built custom to the show. And then you can see we outline every screen with kinetic light that's pixel tracked to the image. In this case, what's unique is, Snow Crash is another one. We're testing shows like this was for Paramount and Unreal, using Unreal to say, is it possible to cut the budget by X millions of dollars in X days? With virtual production, a lot of things are possible. So this is, you know, some car work, spinning the car around. You see the images changing on the screen because we're tracking the screens. We're tracking the screens, we're tracking the lights, we're tracking the cameras. So everything is dynamic. You know, you change a physical light on set, it changes the light in the virtual space. These are lights that were precursors of the mimic light, you know, where we built these things to pixel track. We're mixing projection, LED, OLEDs, anything that works. Making our own lights if we have to. Now we have beautiful mimic lights that will do this on a much more official basis. This is a 3D future Tokyo. We're putting light into the cameras that matches the environment, and basically kind of pushing the envelope, so not allowing the LED volume to define you know, what we do. We're kind of allowing the show, the DP, the gaffers, playback, you know, to come to us and say, what do you want to work? How do you want to work? Do you want to work with, you know, what lights are you going to use? What camera are you going to use? They all react differently. And then we try to pick up the right screen and the right size for how you're going to shoot your show. So I think it doesn't have to be that you're being force-fed an exact technology. Like the Magic Box, you need to know how to use it and when to use it. The last thing you want to do is go in. It does certain things fantastic, and yet, if your show doesn't fit, you really need to discuss that up front and know what and this is undefined, what it does well. You know, so the more you know about the technology, the more you go in and experiment and play with it. like any camera or any light, you got to pick it up, play with it, break it, try it, and, you know, try all sorts of different stuff. And it is changing. Don't let anybody say it's got to be like this, because we are in the Wild West with the technology. It is developing. Every week there's something else that comes out that you go, well, God, if that's possible, then, you know, look how we can use that. So these are all tools that you want to integrate together. What I love about what's happening in virtual production is visual effects were always like, I felt like I should wear a white doctor's coat to the set or something, and everybody comes up and goes, you know, is it going to work? Is it going to work? And you're like the only guy that goes, you know, it's going to be fine. You know, there's going to be a tidal wave, or the ferry's going to sink, or the plane's going to crash. Don't worry about it. Nobody could see it, right? Now, with this, everybody can see it. And so you have, it's good news and bad news. You know, we could always hide on a green screen set, and even if it wasn't, if you didn't know, you could go, oh, it's going to be fine, don't worry about it, right? And the producer goes off and lives to fight another day. Here, if it's wrong, or if you don't know which button to push, you can shut a production down, the whole thing. And that is just not a place you want to be. So we have backup plans, A, B, C. What happens if the power, you know, I've had directors come and go, let me see, you know, and kick the power out of the main computer, and, you know, how long to reboot, right? And trust me, this is like an open heart surgery. HBO is on the phone within 30 seconds, you know, how long, what's going on? And then you get called into a room at the end of the day and they say, is there ever going to be another minute of downtime? I mean, makeup, hair, wardrobe, all those guys can have hours of downtime, you know. Oh, last looks for 5 minutes. Not here. Because they're all terrified. They don't know what, are we going to be down all day? Is this going to work? You know, so I'm very proud of the fact that, you know, we've survived like 3 years now on some shows that are like How to Be a Bookie at Warner Brothers. Chuck Lorre's new show is a sitcom. A lot of driving in it. And we're hitting 12 pages a day consistently with them before the strike, right? But I think we'll be invited back to the party because, you know, we built a system that fits the way they want to shoot. And it's different. Every crew is different. They love to do a whole lot of kinetic flags and mirrors and gags through glass and all that kind of stuff. Other shows are different. They just want a single turnkey, go in, we don't want to worry about it. But I will tell you that probably one of the biggest misnomers in virtual production is everything lights itself. Not a chance. This is like an optical printer. Once you get that background to look perfect, you don't want to screw around with it. That's a constant. So you light from the background to the front, just like an optical printer. Get the exposure right for your background, then you can always build the foreground to match. And that's where the artistry comes in from a lighting standpoint, is you're going to look at it and, you know, all the charts and graphs are going to go out the window and everybody's going to say, you know, I think there should be a little more backlight or whatever. That, you know, that's when, if you're prepared for it, jump in and make those decisions, right? And from a camera standpoint, it's all about prep. You know, we on run, we went out to Panavision, tested a ton of lenses, and wound up with Dan Sasaki specifically disassembling lenses and putting silver rings inside so that it would increase the bounce light inside the lens to blend the edge so it's not too clean. The super sharp lenses, too sharp on LED. You know, it made people look cut out. So that testing, try it. I mean, I always say, you know, have you, you know, what have you tested? Show us what you've done. Get your feet wet in the technology. Don't be afraid of it, because, you know, that's really, I think, the goal here is getting all the people on set, electric, camera, playback, you're creating a composite together, and everybody has to like really be aware of, if you change a light, it might change the tracking, for instance. You can throw off the tracking if you occlude the trackers, or depending on which system there's outside in tracking, inside out. This is inside out in here, where there's an active tracker on the camera and it's looking at passive dots. There's also, OptiTrack, all those kind of things, where you have a bunch of cameras up here and it's tracking everything in the volume. So distinctly different. Outside in, inside out tracking. You can throw trackers off with infrared light. One of the problems we had on Run was we were inside a 200-foot long train set in Toronto. The whole series was shot that way. And it's a silver tube that you're in. You can't put active trackers on. The windows turn out to all be reflective, so if you have an active source at the camera, they're all reflecting the tracking marks, all the windows. So it throws your trackers. So we had to go with building our own inertial things that you have to re-register and trackless stuff. But all the traditional things wouldn't work. So we had to kind of invent some stuff. How's my time? Okay, there's one last thing I'm going to play here. Just I'll put it in the background, and it is kind of cool. It's I don't know if you guys have heard about NERF imaging or whatever, but this is kind of new. This is a new way to build sets and capture environments, which is going to come, because we went to Tokyo and captured the Nikko Shrine just in spring, and this is now a complete virtual world built off reality. This is the result of about 40,000 still images that are blended together to create a three-dimensional photoreal model which can play back in 24 frames in a volume. So now people can walk into this space and you can relight it, you can change it. Now what we're doing here is I asked the guys to just give me kind of a morning look. We're gonna do car commercials. This is the cool thing about this is it's an ongoing database. If any of you go to the Nikko Shrine and send us pictures, we can incorporate them into this model. We can change the weather, we can change the lighting. It is, to the millimeter, a perfect replica of the shrine. Any of these things can be 3D printed at any scale, from overscale to down. But the idea is this is also cinematography. This is where it's headed, is capturing reality in such a way that with an extreme evergreen database, you can choose the lighting you want in this world. You can put atmospherics in. You can augment reality. This is completely based in reality. And we're talking about some really significant changes coming in terms of taking a stack of motion picture, about 54,000 images in a movie, and being able to feed that into a computer and derive a three-dimensional database from it. So a movie is just a bunch of stills, right? This is 40,000 stills and LiDAR. If you have that data, now you can go in and kind of create your own reality. Remember that the last thing is virtual production is not a panacea. Green screen's not going away. You've got a big wide shot here with an army coming in the door. Go to green. Don't try to do it on LED. Unless you've got a ton of money, and probably I've never been there. So you know when it should be real, when it should be green, when it should be LED, and be able to make those calls and contribute to each one of those with your craft. lighting, nine times out of 10, a green screen shot looks lousy because it wasn't lit correctly or it wasn't shot correctly, right? Great thing here is you can see it. So the learning curve is real time. You can make an adjustment with your light and go, yeah, it looks a little green, you know? Okay, fine, back it off. If you're on green screen, who knows, right? I mean, so jump in, use the tools, and I'm telling you that the artistry that is behind the lighting and the camera you need it 10 times more if you're going into this world. So it really is a new territory. It's the Wild West, and we need everybody to get on their horse and do cool things. So are there questions or? Yeah. It's a lot of data. I mean, be ready to do some heavy lifting. You know, we just supplied a plate to the Amazon volume that is 18K across on a video wall about as big as this wall here. And it's photographic, it's 360, and it's 18K times 5 minutes at no compression. So each take on this beach scene that we're doing is about 5 terabytes of data every take. And that's not including the lifting and the stitching and all that kind of stuff. So that's why Stargate, you know, I've got a lot of great visual effects people, and we're used to dealing with a lot of heavy data. So we're actually specializing in kind of the content, the blades. A lot of other people are building razors. We're going in and we can control everything from a big volume to a little one. But it does take a lot of data. We're doing kind of a lot of work with Blackmagic and Resolve because we really like all the color control that you get. It's like a real-time color timing session with 9 Resolves synchronized to get that kind of big playback. So it's a changing world. It's very challenging, but it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's a Wild West. Anything else? Yeah.
So I see that most of the lighting fixtures you have are soft sources. How often do you find yourself that you had to add hard lighting to these setups?
All the time.
All the time.
I mean, this is all soft, right? We are using a lot of hard lights, a lot of rock and roll lights. We're putting the lights, uniquely those follow spot heads, the big follow spots. We put them up and put them on wheels so that the gaffer can watch the plate and play the light, and then it remembers it, so we time code it and it repeats. And critically, you do a master scene, you do a master shot, and then you want to go down and do pickups inside that scene. So they're going to say, oh, we're going to pick it up from this line. Well, all your lighting, everything has to update. So if the sun is hitting in the wide shot, when you cut to the close-up, it can't be different. So you have to have time-coded lights that are in the playback string if you're going to do this stuff. And we're getting really accurate now to where when we shoot the plates, we do a lighting reference on a 10th camera, which is a sphere, and it tells us exactly where the sun is. And we have a Google map track of exactly which way the car was pointing. And we can program that with an overhead sun that is tracking as the car turns. The sun has to counter turn. So we do a lot of hard light. I think that's the thing that's missing. If you look at a lot of volume work, it's all kind of soft and cloudy, which is shallow depth, and which is fine if that's the look. But daylight, you better be able to light hard. So DMX is your friend.
Yeah. I think one of the problems with the pre-built LED volumes is it's hard to put a hard light in there. There are no positions for it, which is easier when you build a per production setup. It's easier to find positions for hard lights.
100%. Yeah. That's why we, on set, we generally project off a clean topper because we can lose it, we can bring it in, we can raise it, we can bring lights in, we can, change the dynamic. So what we try to do is not let the virtual production technology get in the way of the traditional tools that we do. So if the gaffer wants to hang a light there, man, you better be able to hang it. And if there's too much stuff, I mean, I think Brian's done a good job here of giving you a lot of pick points, but each volume has its own personality. And I think the more you can work on them, like the XR guys have a fabulous volume, but it's got unique characteristics. They've got a LED floor, they've got one with a topper, so you need to, after you've worked in them for a while, you know, oh, this is going to fit perfectly for my show. That's really what you want. You know, one size does not fit all. Anything else? Yeah. NERF, N-E-R-F, radiance field. We shot with A1s, and the cool thing is you can take 8 people or your crew and you give each one of them a camera and you say, okay, you cover the inside of that building and I'll cover the outside, and you take all with AI, essentially you can feed these images in, and with some good artistry, you start with a LiDAR, so you take a bunch of LiDAR points. That was about 4 billion, I think, and you know, it's a different way of shooting. But the beauty of it is you get this photoreal model with all the texture map surfaces in 3D, and then you can go in and light that model and explore it with a virtual camera that mimics your real camera. So for every shoot, I think as this technology gets easier, you're going to do a location scout, you're going to go bam, 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 take a bunch of pictures of this room, and then make a NERF model out of it, go in and explore it, see how the light works, see how the cameras work. You can do it on an iPhone.
And the photography part of it, does that have to be on overcast days or what?
Yeah, ideally pre-dawn. You want flat light because you're going to go in and relight it, and shadows get baked in, anything. But that shrine is an impossible place to shoot. It's like Disneyland or something. I mean, there's like 1 million people cruising around. So we removed all the people as well, and then you can repopulate it. So it's, yes, flat light is your friend, definitely in NERF imaging. Yes? That's it? Okay, Alan back there is ready to go. But thank you very much. And there are some great teams around that really have done this a fair amount. Give us a call. If you're doing a shoot, you know, just for a reference we've probably come up against something pretty close to the challenge that you're facing. And if it's not us, you know, the XR guys are a great source of information. You know, it's all about reaching out before you get on set and you've got a problem. We're glad to discuss anything and try to help out in whether we're on a job or not. You know, we just want the technology to work and people to integrate it, and really we're looking at this pulling together camera, electric, playback, really getting everybody together on set with visual effects. Right? I'm a great believer that visual effects supervisors and virtual production supervisors, the guys on set, I would love to see them get unionized and be part of this team, because it's a great on-ramp to, you know, we're starting to blend the you know, kinetic light. It moves, it's kind of an effect, but it's a light, but it has a lot of considerations that I think are all about collaboration. So that's really what we're trying to do. And as I say, it's an evolving process that people like Frieder and his team and Megapixel, we've got technicians that are just roaring along. I don't get too caught up in the details of, you know, the exact color space. I just know when it looks right or wrong and how to fix it, right? That's the game. So thank you very much, and enjoy the day.
Thank you very much, Sam.